Hey, good morning and welcome. We are so excited to have you here and to get to spend a few minutes together. So, in addition to students and staff who we are thrilled can take some time today and spend some time, we also have some alumni that are here, and we have some veteran teachers who have come back to be with us today. So, we're really excited to have all of you all here. Thanks for being here. You've seen a little bit about Jonathon Heyward and about some of the things that he's recently accomplished, and so you're going to get to hear a little bit more about that. But I'd like to introduce and bring onto stage Dr. Cusatis, whose students have been working and preparing so we could have some really good dialogue this morning. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Cusatis.
How you doing? Thank you, Dr. Cook. And thank you all. On behalf of Applause, I'd like to welcome you all and to welcome Maestro Jonathon Heyward back to the School of the Arts, where a dozen years ago as a senior, he conducted the high school orchestra on this very stage the evening this theater was dedicated to in honor of Rosemary Myers, our school's founder and first principal. In a few minutes, you will hear all about Jonathon's ascent from this stage to stages all over the world that led him back to the United States. Our school's motto from the beginning has been, where talent and vision meet the future. Jonathon Heyward has embodied that motto. He began investing his talent in middle school under the instruction of Miss Mears. With a clear, crystal clear vision of what he wanted to do in the future. His story since leaving Miss Fitzgerald's high school strings class reads like a well-written novel. He has made his dream come true, and his example speaks loudly. You can too. It is fitting that today's conversation with Jonathon be led by Applause co-editor-in-chief, Peter O'Malley. For in addition to his own success and dedication to journalism for the past 4 years, like Jonathon, he's an accomplished cellist with a clear eye on his own future. In addition, as Peter will explain, he has known Jonathon longer than any of us, even his teachers. Peter is the principal cellist in both the SOA Symphony Orchestra and Sinfonietta. He received he was the inaugural winner of the Emily Remington Music Scholarship, has received additional scholarships from the Charleston Symphony Orchestra League and Charleston Music Club, and has been selected to play in the South Carolina All-State Orchestra for the past 4 years. Additionally, Peter was named a Piccolo Spoleto Rising Star in 2021 and 22, and has been invited to participate in numerous national and international musical festivals. Peter will now introduce our guest of honor. Please welcome Peter O'Malley.
Good morning, SOA. Thank you all for coming. I've really been looking forward to this. Since I heard that this might be happening, I've known Jonathon my whole life. He was a cello student of my dad's, but he was also my babysitter. That was a while ago. I vividly remember hanging out with Jonathon, and we were in the living room, and I was probably 4 years old, and the earliest advice he gave me had nothing to do with music. He told me one day that I was too old to have a teddy bear. I was 4. But I'll have to ask him, but there's a good chance we also played Lego Star Wars on my Wii. I found a lot of photos recently from these years, and it's brought back a number of great memories. It was fun listening to his lessons as a child while I was up in my room, and he was downstairs, and hearing about things he was doing with Chamber Music Charleston, with the Symphony, and with SOA. He graduated in 2010, And since then, he's earned degrees at Boston University and the Royal Academy in London, and has conducted major orchestras including the Los Angeles Philharmonic, London Symphony, Seattle Symphony, tomorrow the Charleston Symphony. He's currently chief conductor of the Northwestdeutsche Philharmonic in Germany, and last year he was appointed chief conductor of the Baltimore Symphony. He's the first person of color to fill this role, and also the youngest in the orchestra's more than 100-year history, and his appointment will begin in the 2023 to 2024 season. Major news outlets, including the New York Times, the Baltimore Sun, and NPR, have chronicled his success. An LA Times critic described him as a natural showman and sensitive collaborator in service to the music. In December, he was listed first on the Bloomberg Top 50 list of ones to watch for 2023, a list of the people who define global business. Last year's list included such figures as Serena Williams and Tom Cruise. Just last week, he released an album with the London Symphony, who you might know from Star Wars or Indiana Jones, which recorded with John Williams. But they also worked with The Who, Elton John, and they're one of the greatest orchestras today. The album, A New Dawn, is currently sitting at the top of Apple Music Classical's A-list. And so through his passion and his drive from an early age, with the support of Miss Sarah Fitzgerald, the former high school strings teacher, the late Rosemary Myers, and others, SOA provided a liftoff to Jonathon's rapidly accelerating career. It's an honor to share the stage with him today. Please join me in welcoming Maestro Jonathon Heyward. So here are some old copies of Applause, which you were in, and Applause is still running strong. And
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great.
So we're just coming back from a rehearsal with Jonathon and the Sinfonietta at SOA. Did it bring back any memories from when you were in the cello section at SOA?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. But the cello section was probably much better than when I was in it. I mean, this is amazing. You guys sound amazing. It's so good. It's really, really, really incredible. So no, of course, it always brings back memories. Just being in this building and on this stage, I remember opening it, and it was just such an exciting time. So yeah, floods of memories for sure.
What do you recall from your audition for SOA? Was it nerve-wracking, or did you feel relaxed? What did you play?
Does anyone ever feel relaxed from auditions? No, absolutely. You do? Oh, you're the only one that I know. I'm literally the only human being I know. I'm impressed. No, I was really very, very nervous. And the reason why I was very nervous is at that point I had only been playing cello for 3 months, I think. Tim will know this. I think I hardly played the instrument. So I got to the audition, and I barely was able to play, and I was waitlisted, actually. I didn't actually get in immediately. And it wasn't until, I think, a month before that I found out that someone decided not to go, and I was called, and I was allowed in. And so it was really, that was the beginning of all of it. I mean, if I didn't, and that one person who dropped out happened to be my best friend, Jake Mativier. He decided to go to somewhere else for 6th grade, and then he came back in 7th grade, and we met up. And we didn't know until high school that I actually found out that he was the reason why I went to the school, because he dropped out. He was my best friend, and he was my best man at my wedding in May. So it's an amazing story, but it's true, completely true.
Wow. So looking back over the past, over a decade, what aspects of your education at SOA were most important and gave the most liftoff to your career?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is, when I started out, I knew that I was an underdog. I hadn't been playing very, very long. I knew that in order to catch up, I had to work really, really, really hard. I didn't start out like everyone. I started out really late. I come from a family of people who really love music, for sure, but no one's musicians, So what I learned immediately was that if I worked hard, the results could come and people would support me. And that was the biggest lesson that I could learn, and it all started here. It really started here.
Oh, wow, yeah. So shortly before you graduated, on April 16th, 2010, I was in preschool. So, you know, I don't know if I was there. I apologize.
Probably changing
a little
practice.
late, but
yes.
Applause sponsored the dedication of this theater in honor of Rosemary Myers, and you conducted the high school orchestra on this stage. What do you remember from that experience?
I think I just remember, you know, to be able to conduct a full orchestra at that age also was just amazing, you know, to be given that opportunity, to be able to do that. And also to be able to dedicate it to such an amazing woman, you know. She was a person who cultivated and started this whole idea of a School of the Arts in Charleston. I mean, she was a mover, she was a shaker, she was someone who believed, and to be able to be a part of that dedication was really, really special, you know, in her honor, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember what you conducted that concert?
Say that again?
Do you remember what the orchestra played?
Yes, Tchaikovsky's March Slav. I remember. Wow. I think don't look it up. I think it's on YouTube somewhere. Don't do what I do.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so SOA moved to this the same year. SOA moved to this campus, and it was a lot. It was brand new, you know, just and what do you recall about the difference in the school's climate when you changed campuses? Was it
the school's climate? I love all the originals here. Well, the climate was that we had a river in the middle of our campus, and you guys don't have a river in your campus. I mean, I think every one of you should look at, we should get a photo, I don't know, Kataris, we should figure this out. We should get photos of the original campus, and before you have the privilege of walking into this place, you got to see where it all started, because it was when it rained, it flooded. Genuinely, it flooded. We had kayaks that would come through the river. We were really bad. We shouldn't have done that. But it had soul. The campus had soul. You know, we were all in trailers. You know, we were all in this big old field basically. But what I loved about it, and it's very special to be in this building. Don't get me wrong. It's gorgeous. But we came here and we thought. It's amazing. It's great to see the transition, to see where we could go from where we started, you know. And that again is due to all the brilliant staff, the brilliant teachers, and Miss Myers, who really believed in the whole vision of what a Charleston County School of the Arts could be.
Yeah. Lake SOA, right?
Lake SOA, yes. That's it.
Oh. So since graduating, you've built your career throughout the world, not just United States, you know, England and France, Germany, and major U.S. cities from coast to coast in the United States. Was it daunting or exciting to leave home and live in all these diverse cultures and also to study abroad?
Yeah. Well, you know, there was something in me when I was studying in Boston, and I'd done a conducting competition in Bulgaria, and it was one of the first times I left the States. I'm pretty sure if not the first time I left the States. And what was so beautiful at that moment was I realized that we have such a powerful art form that can transcend anything, any kind of country or language. And so I was so excited to I wanted to really commit to studying abroad, because I suddenly thought, if I won't do it now, I think it might be harder later. And yeah, I think that was kind of the point when I was in Boston doing this competition, that I wanted to know what it was like to make music outside of this country, you know, and in different places, because it's an amazing art form to be able to share with different cultures, you know, as well.
Yeah. So, you know, it's funny, you foreshadowed your success all the way back in 2010 in one of these copies of Applause. So you answering the prompt to which you asked, which asked what you see yourself doing in 2020, which has already passed by 3 years, You wrote you wrote that you'd like to become a music director of a major symphony orchestra and to make concerts a fun and enjoyable experience for both the musicians on stage and the audience below. You also said you wanted to make the concert setting more welcoming and homey, and you've clearly achieved the first part of this, becoming music director for Baltimore. But do you still have the same goals of accessibility and hominess for orchestra concerts? Yeah. As the music director of an established orchestra, do you think you'll now be able to achieve those goals?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe I wrote 2020 on that. That's amazing. I guess I was 3 years late, but there we are. But no, I think I saw what I feel so passionate about now early on in my career because I was here at the School of the Arts. The amount of diversity of people that we had and the different people that we had coming together for the unity of arts and music and breaking down so many barriers. You know, we had so many different students from different cultures, socioeconomic backgrounds, races, creeds, all coming, as you are today, all coming together. And I really felt that so much. That this idea that we could break barriers with the art form that the disciplines that we have. So it's really to the kind of essence of this school that gave me that vision. And as I go on now, becoming the music director of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra, yeah, that's exactly what I believe in. Particularly now with COVID, you know, as artists, we all have to think differently now. You know, we have to think about making sure that we connect to the community that we serve. That's really primarily, that's what we do. So yeah, making it homey, making it something that's accessible for everyone, and making people realize that they actually really enjoy this art form. They can enjoy this art form. It's absolutely for everyone. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how are you? So for the next season, do you already have an idea for how you're going to achieve this?
Yeah. I mean, I hit the ground running with this job. We're still working on minor plans, but the exciting part is my whole team, you know, from the CEO to the head of artistic planning, we're all on board with this idea of music for all. We have this title, Music for All, and we're thinking about what that means and what that looks like for Baltimore. You know, where do we go? You know, should we go to the University of Maryland? Should we go outside and play concerts outside? How long should the concerts be? What should we program? You know, this idea, I'm so proud of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. They have this amazing fusion project called, well, they have different projects, but we just played Beyonce and Beethoven on the same concert. I mean, an amazing fusion idea, really clever, completely different crowd, you know, than your masterworks, but it gets people in the hall and them realizing that actually what they listen to on a daily basis can actually relate to, you know, these fantastic classical music composers.
Yeah. I think that's what the world needs. I think, you know, it's a changing culturally.
Yeah.
So do you have a composer? So when you're performing, do you have a composer that you feel you connect the most with, or, you know, just in your career in general?
Yeah, it happened to be a composer that we were working with this morning, which is Shostakovich. For me, Shostakovich has always been someone who's been very, very fascinating. His life, his story, how he also used music as an outlet, you know, during such a struggling time in Soviet Russia. It speaks to me mostly and most of that sort of Russian music does. But yeah, it's very interesting that sort of the tracking of Shostakovich's life, and it's almost like his symphonies are autobiographical. They're totally about his life in that moment. So yeah, one day doing all the symphonies is a goal.
Yeah. Well, and is there a conductor that, you know, starting your career, was there someone who you'd watch recordings of, or you'd go to concerts of? Was there someone that inspired you?
Yeah. I mean, there's three that come up to my name. The first and foremost, the person who really inspired me the most was David Stoll, who is of course the music director of the Charleston Symphony Orchestra here. You know, just being able to just watch what he did, what he was doing, how he rehearsed, it was amazing to just see at such an early stage of my life. As far as a living conductor, someone that I'm really hoping to get closer to is Sir Simon Rattle. He's someone who is just an extraordinary musician and just clearly loves what he's doing, you know, and he's been doing it for ages, and he still has this amazing spirit. And someone who's passed is the very famous Austrian conductor, Collis Kleiber. You know this conductor before, have you ever seen him?
Yeah.
Just amazing sense of, again, just all about the music, you know, all these conductors that are just focused entirely about making really good music so it connects to the audience. I think that's what I try and draw my inspiration on.
Yeah. You know, it's neat. You were talking about, you know, 3 different conductors and how they all, and they're all from different times, you know, of your life. David Stahl was really early on, and you'd, you know, go to the Symphony and so now when you're about to do a concert beforehand, do you have you know, a pre-concert tradition, or do you have like a favorite dinner beforehand, or any traditions?
Nothing spicy. No. You know, it's funny, I recently actually have been working, because it's just been getting really busy, and, you know, I think sometimes we forget as musicians, we work just as hard and have to have just as much precision as Olympic athletes. We really do, as in this art form. It's really difficult. And so I decided, because things were just going crazy, I decided to tap into get a performance coach, actually. So I have a coach who kind of helps me with my stamina and kind of basically preps me for exactly these moments, you know, this idea about what I should be doing before performances, depending on which performance. And so she's been working with me a lot, and we talk about the golden hour before performance. And the golden hour, I have the first part of the golden hour, I do a 20-minute nap in the dressing room. So no one disturbs me, and I do a power nap, essentially. The next 20 minutes is just really lightly remembering the places that I need to make sure I don't completely mess up. And then the next 20 is just relaxing and really feeling my feet, which is, you know, feeling grounded, and getting, you know, dressed and ready to go on stage. So this golden hour is really, really important for me.
Yeah, and you didn't have this coach at SOA.
No, definitely not.
So I've always found it really interesting when a conductor doesn't use the score, doesn't have a podium in front of them, and you do that sometimes too. What do you see as the advantage for this? Because I'm not a conductor, so but do you ever feel pressure to conduct a work from memory?
I don't necessarily feel pressured. I do when the moment feels right. I never push myself with it, because, you know, ideally I should be able to. I can probably do it, you know, from memory, most of it, with whether I have the score or not, because of hopefully how much I studied. But I think the thing is that why you do it, it's not necessarily to show off or anything. It's just to actually connect more with the musicians, and so that you really can just be right there. Whereas if you're looking constantly down at something, it can distract to what you're trying to achieve. So if you're there and in the moment, I think there's true magic that can happen when it's just you and the musicians, you know, and you're making music. But a lot of studying before has to happen, because you can't miss the details. You know, you can't just do it just to do it. You have to conduct the details. You have to show the details. So I don't conduct without a score unless I really have every single detail in my mind, so I can show it and really serve the music, because that's all you're doing at the end of the day. Yeah.
And you're talking about Shostakovich earlier. Are there any scores that you feel really familiar with, and that are there any that every time you do it, you know, you feel more familiar and better? Is there anything you have a tie to in that way?
I mean, it's funny. I am still opening up the scores for the first time to a lot of the repertoire that I'm conducting. I still I have so much to learn, and so, you know, I'm only now kind of circling back to pieces that I've conducted maybe once before. And that's nice, because it's like, okay, I remember this. I remember this, how this went. Oh, last time we didn't do it this way, so I'm going to try this way. And so it's only now that that's starting to happen. You know, some of the Beethoven Symphony, I've conducted Beethoven 7 now several times, and you know, maybe 3 I've conducted, you know, but it's only just turning. I'm still learning all music from the beginning, which is daunting sometimes. Yeah, a lot of music to remember. Yeah.
So in March, you gave the world premiere for Xavier Foley's double bass concerto.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, with him in Atlanta Symphony.
Yeah.
How did you? So this was a brand new work. How did you approach it? And did you work with Foley up to this premiere?
Yeah, we talked a lot. This amazing thing, being able to work with a living composer. You can just speak to them about what they want and what they're trying to say. And Xavier is an incredible bass player. He was here, wasn't he? I think
he was.
Yeah. I saw he was here. He's an incredible bass player, and he's just kind of figuring out his compositional style. And so I was asking him a lot of questions, and even to the very last moment in the dress rehearsal, we were changing things. And that's the beauty, is that to be able to kind of be flexible and change things and adapt a new work, And now we're going to do it in Baltimore again, and it'll sound different again later on in May.
Wow. Yeah. World premieres are so exciting.
Yeah. They can be scary, but they can be exciting as well. I have one story about that very, very quickly. I was doing a world premiere of an opera by an Italian composer, and we didn't get the last act of the opera until the dress rehearsal. And I had to go to Rome to pry it out of his hands, essentially, and then go back and to the dress rehearsal. And so, yes, world premieres can be exciting, but they can also be very stressful if you don't have a good composer. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's so tomorrow you're conducting Charleston Symphony.
Right.
You sat in on the rehearsals and watched David Stahl, who studied under Bernstein. What was that like, and how does it feel coming back to the CSO so long after, with so much more musical knowledge? Are there any aspects of the program tomorrow that you're most excited about?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to come back. I basically know everyone in the orchestra, so it's so nice to be back and to see familiar faces. There was one point where one of the violinists came up to me and she's like, "I just can't get over the fact that you were 14 and now you're telling me what to do." And I was like, sorry. We're doing it together, though. We're collaborators. But no, she meant it in a very lovely way. But no, it's great. I mean, it's amazing to be able to just be there making music with familiar faces, because I travel around the world a lot and I don't know anyone sometimes standing in front of me, most times. So to be able to have a familiar face is great. But yeah. And I guess my favorite aspect of tomorrow will be the Tchaikovsky, because it's my first time doing it, so I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, great.
So, based on your pursuit and attainment of your dream, what advice do you have for the SOA students in the audience today?
Well, nothing is impossible without a bit of hard work and setting your dreams and goals. Like you pointed out, I knew this is what I wanted to do, and I also knew why I wanted to do it. It had nothing to do with wanting to be the center of attention, because if that's the case, don't stop while you're ahead, I think. You have to really love what you do, and you have to believe that what you do as an artist is to serve the community and to serve the people listening and watching. And for me, I was just so overwhelmed by that, I really was. I don't say that lightly. I was so overwhelmed by the power of what we do, as a classical music art form, to be able to create a sound that is bigger than one person. It's incredible. So, set those goals now, dream now, think way, way in the future. Because when you set it, then you always have this aim, you have this dangling carrot at the end of it. And you'll be surprised, the dreams can come true, definitely in a supportive environment like the School of the Arts. So just keep dreaming, keep dreaming.
Well, thank you so much for doing this conversation, this interview, and it's great to see you again.
It's amazing to be back. Thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So are we?
Yeah, I mean, we may have time for one or two questions from the audience. If anybody have anything they would like to ask Jonathon?
Yes. Yeah.
What has been, if you ever had made a mistake, where was it, and what was
She asked if I've ever made a mistake, and I've made plenty of mistakes. Plenty of mistakes. You know, I don't know. I think I've made too many to find out the specific place where I made the mistake. But I think this is a really good question, because you all have to know that you will make mistakes, yeah? And because every human does. And it's not about making mistakes, and it shouldn't be, you know, when we make a mistake, it feels sometimes like the world's gonna cave up in on us. But the reality is that you have to just keep going, no matter what. Because you're all human, and you're doing a beautiful human thing, which is making art, yeah? Some of the greatest artists have made some of the greatest art from making mistakes, yeah? So remember that. Whenever you make mistakes, it's just a part of the journey. It has nothing to do with your ability as an artist. It's just part of the journey, yeah? Good question. Yeah, oh gosh, so many, sorry. Yes, blue cap.
What is your favorite place you've ever performed at?
So my most favorite place that I've ever performed at was, and still is, and I'm so lucky to be able to go back a lot, is the Concertgebouw concert hall in Amsterdam. It's one of my favorite concert halls. If you've never seen it, look it up. It's one of the most beautiful concert halls, and it has one of the best acoustics. Far left.
So when I see lots of conductors like you, but how do you know what to do?
I'm still trying to figure that out. How do I know what to do? You know, this is a good question as well, because as a conductor, you're a leader, and you're just trying to figure out how to get pieces, you know, how to get it all together. And I said this today in the masterclass earlier on. A lot of what I do is listening, you know. 70% of what I do has to be listening, and 30% has to be the other bit, you know, the other thing of conducting. So listening is crucial to actually be able to change and adapt and make sure everything comes together. Oh gosh. One more? One more shake. Yes, there we are. Yeah. Can you say it one more time? Sorry. In movies, not yet. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. One more. Yes.
Have you ever performed at Carnegie Hall?
Not yet. But I'm practicing, because apparently that's what you need to do to get to Carnegie Hall.
Those are some good goals for you, I guess. Well, as you see on the screen, there's Jonathon. There's Jonathon conducting right here. And that was a very memorable night. And some of you were here. Miss Nichols, I think you spoke. We had some heavy hitters here that night. You know, Charlton Singleton was here, both Mayor Summey and both Mayor Riley and the novelist Colin McCann flew down from New York, all to be part of this tribute. But I was sitting right here with Rosemary Myers, and she turned to me, and you made her night. That was her vision come true when she saw that, the night the theater was dedicated. So thank you, and let's hear it for Peter and for Jonathon.
Thank you all for coming.
Fantastic.